welcome to another episode of Wind, Waves and Wells with Joe, me. Part 3 with George. I've really enjoyed all of this trilogy, and the reason I've done it in 3 parts is because I do feel there's an awful lot of story to tell, and if anything, if I can help him sell a few books, which I highly recommend getting stuck into, then that, in my opinion, is a win. So let's get stuck into the third one, and yeah, let's go.
Hey there, Joe.
Hi, George.
How are you?
Part 3.
Good.
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. So we've touched on majority of your career. Well, not majority. It's probably quite small snippets, actually, if you go through the book. But
Okay.
why the book?
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy to explain. I after the first lockdown in the pandemic, I was in Ras Al Khaimah. I was getting island fever. I needed to get out, and so I decided I would go back to the UK for a little while and go and stay with my parents. My father at the time would have been 93, probably 92. And my mother would have been 91, and they live in Norfolk, and they have a really beautiful house up on the marshes, and they have an annex. So I said I would go and stay with them for a couple of weeks, not in their pockets, but in the annex. And then so I did that, and it was great. And then before I could get back to the UAE, lockdown 2 happened, so I was stuck in the UK. So I ended up staying there for 3 months, and it was an interesting thing because I wasn't in the pockets. The annex has got a bedroom and a lounge and a kitchen and a bathroom, blah blah blah. So I could live independently. But every day I'd go for a walk. It was in November, December, January, so it's cold. And every day I would go for a walk, come back, have coffee with my father. And then in the evenings, have a drink with them. I wouldn't eat with them every day, but I have a drink with them. And after 3 months, I realized that I was very privileged because not many people have the opportunity to um, get to know their parents that well. I left home when I was 16, 17, and I'd really not and spent any time with them, not any quality time, apart from going to see them, having lunch, leaving, blah blah blah. So over that period of time, I got to know my father. My father got to know me, and it made me think, oh, I should maybe write my memoirs, or write a diary. Um, I've got something here which is quite probably quite rare. I've got every single
Passport.
passport since I was 16 years old.
All of them.
Um, and it's interesting because this is the story. And this, by the way, is when I was 17.
Bloody hell.
I don't often share that with people.
That's...
You can delete it if you like.
No, there you go. Hey.
Okay, you got it. Okay, so
No, it's on now. It's on.
so I decided I was going to write
Yeah.
my life story, and I started it. And then in November 2023, after the whole pandemic thing was out of the way, I went to see a friend of mine, and I shouldn't really promote somebody else's book, but anyway, I went to see this friend of mine. We went for lunch and had a few beers, and he met up with a girlfriend of his, and he said, "Oh, you'll get on with her because her brother's in the oil industry." And it turns out that her brother was Paul Carter. I don't know if you've heard of Paul Carter. Yeah, that's the one. That's the
Yeah.
one. And
Don't
this is
tell
not
Mum
a
I work on
drill.
the rigs.
So
Yeah.
quite interested in that. So I bought both his books and read them, and they were how shall I just politely say, they were slightly amusing. Um, but I thought that there's a better book in me than that. So that's why I wrote it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Do you how do you remember majority of it though? Is it from memory or
Just well,
was it
I mean, just
notes or what?
just
Oh, it's just the
yeah. I
passports.
mean,
Just kind of
a lot. The stories that I've written about in my book are all reality. They didn't necessarily happen exactly the way that I've written them. Otherwise, you'd just be reading my diary, and that would be boring. And a couple of them didn't happen
yeah.
directly with me. Like there's one chapter called "I'm Getting Married in the Morning," and that happened to friends of mine. Um, and that's the story of the guy who was trying to get back to Norway to get married, and eventually got ended up floating down the Niger Delta. Um, and that happened to the guy,
Yes. Yeah, that's actually a good chapter
and
that like
so that no that's how I mean I remember them
um
because I remember them because I've got a good memory, I guess. But the aide de memoir is
yeah.
is the passports.
How much do you think your early life helped you
Um,
going into your offshore career?
I think there was a certain amount of survival, as you know. My mum died when I was 15 months old, um, and my father then had to bring up my sister and myself. Well, I have a slightly older sister than me, um, and then he married again, and she was wife number two was the stepmother from hell. Um, and so I spent a lot of time sort of surviving, I suppose. And my father was amazing. He did so well to bring us up, but it's not easy bringing up two kids when he would have been 27 years old. So bringing two kids up and trying to make ends meet, and so we were left to a lot of the time. We were left to our own devices. Uh, and then I went to when I got into my secondary school. When I got to secondary school, I went to a private school, private school, not a particularly good one, but it was a public school nonetheless. But then I found out that it was still in the era when if you didn't do well, then you used to get caned. And I remember being caned on more than one occasion for not doing well in my history exams and stuff like that. So, but as soon as I could leave, I left and I went to work as a motorcycle mechanic. It was my first particular career. I was bike mad, so
Yeah, I've done a few podcasts recently, and a couple of them have been on. We spoke about mental health and that. Was that much of a thing
no,
in your time
absolutely
when
not.
you were offshore
Mental
or in
health
that
was a
field?
sign of weakness.
No, I didn't think so. No.
Or sorry, bad mental
Yeah.
health was a sign of weakness. Good mental health was a sign of strength. And you
Yeah.
know, when you went on
Yeah.
a rig, whether it be a swamp barge or a land rig or a jack up or whatever it was, you always felt as though you were part of a team. Um, and I think people who had mental health problems probably didn't survive. They probably just didn't go, and they found that there was no patience
Mm.
with them if they had a problem. I saw the thing that you did with Justin Forrest, and he's obviously opened up a little bit to you about that. Um, so yeah, so
Yeah.
mental health wasn't a thing. It was yeah, you had to survive, and you had and if you weren't, I mean, you just get your ass run off. That would be it. And there'd be even if it
Yeah.
wasn't written down as being a mental health issue, they would tell you that they just, goddamn son, I don't want that boy in my rig again, and that was it.
Yeah. Do you think anything?
I
Do you think
struggled.
you ever struggled with anything
I
over the time?
struggled when I was in Holland. We were doing some ridiculous uh, jobs where we would drive 300 miles to southern Germany and do a sidetrack, or we would um, go up into the Groningen field or Schonebeek and drill wells. And but we weren't doing a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 1 week on, 1 week off, whatever. We just went out to do a job, and you came back from a job, and your job wasn't. We used to get paid a salary, a day rate, and a job ticket bonus. So we used to get 2% of the job ticket. And so until your
Wow.
kit and your paperwork was done, you weren't finished. And if you didn't finish a job, you didn't get paid for it. And then you'd go home, uh, throw your coveralls in a washing machine, get some sleep, and for all you know, you knew that there was going to be a phone call saying next day that you'd go again. And so with that was the hardest thing. It was just total exhaustion. And I can remember on one particular occasion when I went back to my apartment in Holland, and I went to bed at 8 o'clock in the evening, and when I woke up, the sun was shining, and I thought, oh, that was a good night's sleep. I had a good 8 hours sleep, 10 hours, 12 hours sleep, but I'd actually had 24 hours sleep, and it was
God,
hard work, and
just totally
and we
exhausted.
we we lived in cars basically. So anyway, yeah, but I mean, and if you had mental health
Mm.
problems, you wouldn't have survived that. No,
No. Do you was there any point when you were going through all this that you thought like I'm ready to kind of pack this in, or
we
you
just
just
became
just
accustomed to
became
it,
accustomed
and
to it all?
and also things that as
Yeah.
as time went on, things changed. We started turning around to people and saying, "Hang on a second, I can't. I need a break." And then the supervisory
Mm.
people that were work, and they were complete arses. And but the people who were doing the scheduling and stuff, they didn't have an awful lot of sympathy. But after a while, they started to realize that if we were burning out, the the job would not they couldn't do the job without us. And I mean, back in those days, the hardest job of all on the oil field in the oil field was probably working for Schlumberger and doing logging, no wireline logging, and
Yeah.
they would be up for 72, 80 hours, and high tech stuff. And also, yeah, it was, this was before MWDs and formation evaluation MWDs. It was all done on a wireline, and it was seriously hard work.
And what they were just burning out
They
left, right, and
got
center.
paid
Then were
very
they?
well. They were very intelligent people because they had to be, because of the tools they were running. Um, Stuff we were running was also mostly on wireline to start with, but ours was really quite low tech. We were just providing direction. We weren't doing um, um, high tech uranium sources and you know all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was hard work for them, but they got very well paid.
You well, yeah. So I guess that's probably a majority of it, though, isn't it? A lot of there was so much money in the oil field. I mean, nowadays, if you compare it to nowadays in terms of the living standards, compared to what some people are getting paid. I mean, I think people were obviously back then a bit more susceptible to putting up
Yeah.
with the longer shifts
Yeah,
because of the money that was coming in.
but eventually we got to the point where
Yeah.
people said, I mean, with Sperry Sun, we had some people who actually died because of the exhaustion, and not because they died of exhaustion, but there was one particular guy. I can't actually remember his name, but I'm sure anybody who watches this and gets back to me will tell me his name. But who fell asleep driving back from the rig, and and that sort of thing. When those sort of things happen, the guy had been on a job. I think he was doing a job in Witch Farm, I think, and was driving back to Yarmouth, but I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't around in that area at the time, but once those sort of things get back to senior management and they realize how hard people are working, they start saying, well, we need to hire more people and we need to give people a break. Otherwise, it's gonna happen again.
Hmm. The throughout your career, I mean, 40 years, you would have seen quite a lot of generations come through, and more after that. What would you say now to the era of
Yeah, I
younger
mean,
people, if there is that
I
many
think
coming through?
I'm not sure if I told you, but when I don't think I did. But when I joined the when I joined Sperry Simon joined the oil field, my father said, don't be mad. It's a hire and fire business. I think I may have told you, but um, and and then 40
Yeah.
years later, he was wrong. But anybody who wants to get into the oil industry, I think they need to go in with eyes wide open, and also to think about the fact that it may not last as long as it needs to. But at the same time, we're not going to transition quickly to renewables. We all know we have to, but one of the worst things that we could possibly do at the moment is run out of oil and gas, because we'd all freeze, or in my case at the moment,
Yeah.
boil to death.
Yeah. Do you think how much of your life has been built, your character, I
Um,
mean, from offshore?
a large proportion of it. I was reasonably successful
Yeah.
when I joined the oil industry. I had a couple of little jobs going and a little business running. But I remember when I was quite young, I used to sit I used to live on the coast. And I remember when I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, sitting on the shoreline, thinking, I wonder where I'm going to go in this world. So I think there was always this wanderlust in me that made me want to go.
Are you hopeful for the industry, or do you
I
think
think
it's
it
dropped
depends
off? I mean,
on whether
losing
or not
a
you're
lot
talking
from it.
about the global situation or the UK situation, or I mean, Donald Trump said "drill, baby, drill," and he was probably right. He's probably right. We will
Yeah.
phase out the use of hydrocarbons when we can, not because some idiots are going to tell us that we have to.
Yeah.
Uh, and as I said a few seconds ago, if we
Yeah.
run out of oil and gas, um, then we're stuffed. But and unfortunately, the UK seems to
Yeah.
think that they can force us into net zero, but you can't. You have to transition into net zero, and you have to have energy security in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's common knowledge now that majority of our gas we've now started. Well, not majority, but a lot of our gas we've now started importing from
Of
Norway,
course,
who are absolutely licking their lips off the back
and
of this one.
we also put it in ships
Yeah.
and bring it across from
It's
America, for Christ's sake. How 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 how
yeah. I
carbon
know
neutral is
LNG's done
that?
very well as well from there.
No. And the other
Not
thing
very at
that
all.
gets
But
my
someone's get
back up a little bit is, well, a lot, is this lack of fracking. We fracked two wells onshore in the UK. The I know the facts, but I think they started fracking in America in about 1947, and they've fracked over a million wells. And they haven't had any
mm,
particularly bad problems with it, and they certainly haven't had any earthquakes attributable to fracking, which is what the argument has been in the UK.
yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I certainly think we should be exploring the reserves we have. I think
Yeah, but
it's
then you listen to the
economic suicide what's
politicians, and the
going on back
politicians
here.
will say,
But at
yes,
the end
but
of the
we have
night,
to pay market rates for our oil and gas. But you might buy it at its source. You might buy it at market rate, but by the time you get it to where you need it, it's not only costs a lot of
mm,
money in transportation, storage, and all that sort of stuff, but it's also cost an awful lot of carbons. It's you can't transport stuff around the
yeah,
world
to get it there.
carbon free at this point in time. So
No, but that's the new thing, isn't it? I had blue boats, or was basically it's environmental friendly boats. What's next for
Um,
George? Are you
right.
putting
Well,
another
I
book?
mean, at the moment, I'm planning my summer travel, which means I'm going to be traveling from
Yeah.
about the 20th of June, and for 3 months I'm going to be traveling. Um, so I'm going to go and chill out for 2 months in Bali. Um, and that's part of it. And so I think that nothing immediate. I do have some projects on which need quite a lot of attention, but only not too much. Um, but I have been thinking about the
Yeah.
potential opportunity to I mean so if you look at the back of my book, there are a few people who made some comments, mainly from Amazon, blah blah blah, who have said, people don't believe this happened. One person said, people keep telling me I should write a book, and fuck it, George has done it. um but I was thinking about potentially doing a compilation book of stories from the slippery edge, which
Yeah. Right. People
so
coming
yeah,
forward with
so
their story, so to speak.
people can relate their stories to me. I'll put them down, and we can have a short story compilation, which might be quite fun.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be great. Actually, I think you'd certainly get a lot of.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I'm
think you get
sure
a
I
lot of good
would.
stories.
Yes, well,
Especially from the oil
I'd
and
probably
gas
restrict
industry.
it to that because most other industries were too sensible to do things we did.
That's a very good point. Although I have had a couple of good stories from the
No, but
wind. I'm not going to lie.
it's a very
Over your
similar
whole career,
industry. It's just
what
got
what?
different. It's got different drivers. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's all about yeah. It
Yep.
all comes to the same thing. It's all about the money at the end of the day, isn't it? What's over your career? What stands out to you the most? What do you kind of what do you sit back and kind of think on every now
Um,
and again?
I'm just grateful that it lasted that long. Um, and I'm grateful that I survived.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things that did happen, which I am really grateful for, is the fact that when Halliburton bought Dresser, and I didn't get on with Halliburton because we used to call them sack rippers. So basically, all they did was open sacks, mix it with water,
Yeah.
and pump it into the ground or in whatever. Um, and Halliburton didn't like me very much, and so we didn't last very long. And I spent a year of my life, and they didn't pay me particularly well after 20 years working for Sperry, Halliburton slash blah blah blah. And so I spent a year and a half trying to make it on my own. Um, and then eventually I got headhunted by some guys who wanted me to run a company called Team Energy Resources, which I did, and we were very very successful. And I think the the thing I take from most of it, the most gratifying thing, is the fact that I survived that gap, without going completely mad.
Mm,
And my son says to me, he or he did
yeah.
say at some point, um, I'm very proud of what you did, how you survived. So yeah, that was good. I mean, when I
Yeah.
say
Fair play.
survived, I mean fiscally and yeah.
Yeah. Mentally and
Just
everything.
one other small thing on that
Is there
is
any?
that I at
Yeah.
one point, when I got headhunted for Team Energy, I was completely and utterly broke, absolute broke. They didn't know that. They didn't know that. Oh, well,
Right.
otherwise they wouldn't have paid me as much as they did. Um, but one of the things that about to take
Fair
away from
play.
that is that, and it's a line from the song, is that once one what nobody can take anything from someone who has nothing. So if you ever get that
Yeah.
low, you can't get if you can't get any lower, then the only way is up after that point.
Where did all the money go? Because you're not the only one. Like I've spoken to who have had, careers and stuff like that. If you don't mind me asking, obviously, because it seems to be that like you speak to quite a few boys that have been in it, and I know loads of boys that are still offshore and that I've come across. I don't know them personally, but I've come across boys that have been in their late 60s, 70s, and they're still offshore. And
Yeah,
you
I
think,
mean, most of
where's
it,
the
I
money
think,
gone?
most of it goes in. Well, there's obviously there's the expression, "Dear God, please give us another upturn in the industry, and I promise I won't piss it up." And I
Yeah,
promise I won't piss it off.
yeah.
I promise I won't piss it on
Living
up a
in
wall.
hope.
But then
Yeah,
I've been married a couple of times and all that sort of stuff, and uh, school fees. Um, but yeah, but
yeah,
that was for the end of the first half, because that was the 20 years working for Sperry, and then there was 20 years working for Team.
yeah.
um and Team was very good to me. I did very well. I did very well out of Team.
Right.
And the people who were in the senior management of Team, who I knew vaguely before I started working for them. I remember the CEO. I mean, I remember having a beer with him in the pub after work, and him saying, "George, you're earning a shit." Well, he said he actually told me I was earning more than he was, and I said, "Are you?" I said, so I said, "Do you have a problem with
Yeah.
that?"
Well, there you
And he
go,
went,
then.
"No." He said, "The more you earn, the more we make. The more we make." And that's the sort of attitude I like. Great guy.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Yeah. Um, Before we kind of come to the last question, the name of the book. I mean, obviously, when you start reading it, you know where it kind of comes from. But
I've got
what
absolutely
gave
no
you
idea
the
whatsoever.
name?
I wanted a cover, and I
No.
wanted it to be striking. And so if you saw that book on
Yeah.
it, I mean, the idea of the book is they call it the airport book. It's a book that you're wandering around WH Smith waiting for your flight to take off, and you see a book, and the cover makes you think and look at it twice. Um, and I guess the clown image was one thing, and then I don't know. I think possibly because of all the stories. I mean, I couldn't have put the guy that lived in the rubbish tip in Port Harcourt on the cover, could I?
No. it might it might have come back for you after a few years and requested
Anyway,
copyright.
anybody who reads the book will know what we're talking about. Um, so I think it was just I think the
Yeah.
pig on a motorcycle was a true story, and it had a sort of
Yeah.
it had the sort of story that could have a picture. So yeah,
Yeah. No. I one thing I will say about it is I try and read a book every time I go offshore, and some books are more a chore to get through, and others are really easy. And that's what I did say to you. I've said to you a few times. It is a really easy book to read. I think you've catered well in terms of the kind of changing of the situations where you are, blah blah blah, to each chapter. So it does keep you engaged. And I thought it was actually a well written
well,
book. I'm not
I
just
certainly
saying that,
appreciate
obviously,
it,
but like I
and for
didn't
someone who's
find
never
it
written a book
was.
in his life, that's quite an accolade. Thank you.
No, that's what I was going to say. You that's what I was coming to actually was is for someone who's not written a book. You've read it well. You've written it well, and it comes out easy to read, and that's half the battle nowadays.
Good.
And
I'm glad you did.
but
I
I
enjoyed
personally
writing it
enjoyed it.
actually. One of the things is about
Yeah,
about the book, and but also about the precursor to that, which is my life story type thing, which I hadn't finished, but it is very cathartic. It helps you understand yourself.
yeah. Do you feel you when you were writing? Did you feel you got a lot out of you?
Yes, yeah, for sure. And also, yeah, because a lot of the things that I saw and experienced, most people will never experience them, hopefully.
Yeah,
But also, it made me realize that I had experienced them, and it made me a better person. And yeah, it just I think it's a bit sad for some of the people who gave their lives in the process.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily talking about the people who were working in the oil industry, but the people who I saw die in Africa and stuff. It's very sad.
Yeah. No, I think hopefully you get a few sales off the back of this. I hope there's a few people out there that decide to go pick it up. I highly recommend it anyway. It's definitely a good read. Um, I ask everyone that's come on. Obviously, we've done two parts. I haven't asked you yet, but if you had your time again and you knew what you do now, would you have still gone down the exact same path?
Yes,
Yeah.
without a doubt. First of all, because I've enjoyed it. I've got a lot. I've had a lot of experience from it. Um, and it's enabled me to write a book. You know,
Yeah.
if nothing else. But yeah, it's nice to have those things behind you and think, I did that. Even though, as I said in the earlier sections, I'm not a risk taker. I'm a risk mitigator.
Mm.
Um, but I suppose that at some point I should say that I'm also glad I survived. But I also think that yes, people should follow their nose and do what they. There'll be nothing worse than for me not to have done it, even though I couldn't regret it because I didn't know about it. But I would regret that I haven't done what I've done.
Do you have any regrets within what you've done?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Sorry, it wasn't probably the best answer, but no, I
No,
don't.
no,
I don't.
no, that's
I
fine.
mean, regrets. I mean, yes. I mean, the only regret I think was probably is the fact that I waited until I was halfway through my career before I started saving any money. That's
Yeah.
probably about the brother, But the second half has been pretty good. So
No, that's great. That's there you go. We'll end on a good high. George, thanks so much for coming on. I've enjoyed all three parts of this.
thank you. I've enjoyed it too. It's been good.
Yeah, no, it's been brilliant. Take care of yourself and enjoy Bali when you get out there.
Well, I've got Holland, UK, France, and then Bali. So it should
Oh,
be
there you
good.
go. So from shite weather
All
to
right.
good weather.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cheers,
All right.
George.
Okay. Take care.
And all good things do come to an end. Trilogies are normally the best, I think. Yeah. The recording of these has been great. We've done it over a couple of days as well, just to kind of keep it all fresh. But I've taken an awful lot from kind of listening to his story. It's almost I can remember being younger, being around the kind of the oil field kind of chaos, we say. Just living near refineries and going on a rig at quite a young age, just being around quite young and listening to him is when he, especially maybe in the 90s, early noughties, I feel like that was kind of quite a big heyday for the oil and gas industry. And yeah, it was great listening to his stories. His book I cannot recommend enough. I really can't. And I'd highly recommend I'd highly recommend it. I'm going to keep rambling on here. I don't want to go on for too long, but if you have enjoyed the show, as I've said in many before, please like, subscribe, follow, share it with your mates, or don't, or just don't listen anymore. Totally up to you. But until then, we go again.